Hey guys, this month is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and I am inviting my good friend Whitney to speak more on this topic. Whitney and I were pageant sisters about 7 years ago. That's when I met her and learned more about her passion for child advocacy. So, hey Whitney,
Hello, thanks for having me.
thanks for being here. So, I'm gonna turn the mic to her. Whitney, I would love it if you could tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I am the mom of three kids. I have two teenage daughters, and they definitely keep me busy and keep me on my toes. And then I have a son who is 9 years old in the third grade. And my husband and I actually adopted him through the foster care system. My husband and I have been married for almost 20 years this September, and we do spend a lot of time advocating on behalf of children in foster care, which is so awesome that we can do that together. I work as a physician assistant in neurology again for the last 20 years. And if I'm not working, doing all this stuff with my children, I'm usually out in the community serving in different aspects with different charities.
Wonderful. Whitney, you're a mom of three, you have a job. So, how did you find the time to do child advocacy?
Well, initially I started in child advocacy around the time that we were adopting my son through foster care. And I was introduced to that when my CASA volunteer on my son's case walked into the room. I can still remember that moment, remember meeting her. She was one of the warmest, kindest individuals I had ever met. And I didn't understand at the time what her purpose was or how she fit into the case. We were overwhelmed by the social workers and then the ad litems and court, all the different things. We were overwhelmed. So when she came in and started asking us questions, we were a little confused. But the more we got to know her and to understand her role and that she was there to truly speak on behalf of Logan or our son, we were just thrilled. And so watching her along the way, she was that unbiased opinion for him. I keep saying my son, who wasn't my son at the time, but for my son, so that she could help speak for him. Since we did foster and adopt him from infancy, he was 3 days old when we got him. He truly couldn't speak up for himself. So when I saw her role and how important it was, I knew I wanted to do something, but at the time I couldn't give the time to be an advocate. So again, my girls were a lot smaller then, and then I had him as an infant. So I began to work with my local CASA office and help with fundraising and help with the recruitment of the advocates themselves. Our goal was to get an advocate for every single child that was coming into foster care. So I was helping to put on events and to talk to people to recruit those advocates for them. And after about 5 years, honestly, as the kids got a little older and the more I was involved with CASA, it was still in my heart to become an advocate myself. So in 2016, I went through the training and took on my first case as a CASA volunteer in August of 2016. And that case actually just ended just a few weeks ago. So almost 5 years on that case.
Congrats on finishing the case.
Yes, it was definitely rewarding, and everything worked out as it should, and it was a long time, and it's an emotional roller coaster sometimes, but
Definitely. And I've met Whitney's son Logan before, and he's the cutest.
he's precious.
Whitney, I know you've worked with CASA in several different areas, from fundraising to being a court-appointed special advocate. So could you share with us what the day in the life of a CASA volunteer looks like?
Sure. So when you initially start, there is a training process, and that's several weeks. I believe it's like 6 weeks of training. But once you get that role as a CASA advocate, your goal is to truly gather and learn information about this child in all aspects of his life, through the biological parents, through the foster parents, in the schools, in the community activities, just to see that child's interactions and what is truly best for them. Then you'll be speaking on behalf of this child in court. So you will be going into court to speak. Now it may be virtually, but at the time, to go into the court and speak on behalf of this child. And there's a lot of documentation and paperwork and visits, usually once a month, with these children and the other people involved in the case. But all of it is worth it, and you're never just thrown out there on your own. You definitely have a lot of support from the CASA office and the supervisors and other advocates as well.
Do you have a proudest moment as a child advocate?
I do. So honestly, the whole thing has been rewarding and, again, just overwhelming. There's amazing things. But during the process, what that stood out to me were that when these kids come into care, a lot come in with absolutely nothing. And so as an advocate, when we would go into the homes, we wanted to give these children something that they could call theirs. So we would bring them a book, an age appropriate book for them. And this inspired me to actually write a children's book called I Am a Child that we could give to these children. And it was based off my son, Logan, and him wanting to feel normal. So one of the things he would say is that when he would tell people he was adopted or in foster care, that a lot of times they would think he was weird or there was something different about him. And I wanted to show in the book that these children who are in foster care are the same as the children who are not in foster care, meaning that they have the same fears, they have the same dreams, they want to be doctors, lawyers, teachers, all the things. You know, they want to go to sleepovers, they want to go to birthdays, parties. So they have these same things that children who are not in foster care have. So it was just a simple way to put that into a children's book. And I was able to produce this through a program I called Fostering Love Fosters Life. And my goal was to get this in the hands of all the CASA programs in Texas and that they would be able to hand these out to the children.
That's so creative and powerful. So how can I get a copy of your book?
You can definitely contact me. I can leave my email and I can mail them to anyone, you or anyone that wants one. And also one of the things is for donations of $5 a book, I will send them out to CASA programs in honor of whoever is doing the donation or in honor of someone that they want it in honor of.
That's good to know. I will share your contact information with everyone who's interested.
Thank you.
With April being Child Abuse Prevention Month, how are ways that people can show support for this cause?
So a lot of it is just education and being aware and knowing the signs. One of the things we can all do, we talk about child abuse awareness and prevention, and it's, to some people, it's like, what does that mean? And I think the biggest thing is just that, being aware, talking to our children, knowing even their friends, just kind of getting to know, talking to children and being aware of some of the signs when they're in school. Teachers can definitely be aware of what's going on in these kids' lives, and just talking. I mean, it's so hard for sometimes people to speak up when they're concerned about what's going on in another child's life, especially as a teacher. There's a lot of concern there, but we have to speak up because we are the ones that can do that for them. So being aware, there's also a ton of opportunities for fundraising and events for these kids and these programs. Contact your local CASA program and see what their needs are. Everyone's different. Some, like I said, are doing books that they're giving out to kids, so doing book drives, there's school supply drives, there's all kinds of things, but just reach out and ask how you can help. And of course, if you have the time, please become an advocate.
You're so right. There's so many ways to give back, whether it's volunteering your time, resources, or even having those open dialogues. And I know we as CASA volunteers talk about this all the time, but with COVID-19, we've seen an increase in child abuse and neglect cases. So for people that are interested in volunteering virtually, what advice do you have for them?
Like you said, it's definitely on the rise. I think during the pandemic and COVID-19, so many things just stopped, right? And so everyone kind of stepped back and everything stood still, but child abuse did not. And in fact, I truly believe, I don't know the true numbers, but I'm sure that there had to be a rise in the child abuse cases, because there's so many that were stuck at home in situations that just were not ideal. And for a lot of them, school was an escape, you know, out of their homes for part of the day and things like that, but they were at home trying to do the in-home school learning and all of the things. So I know that there was a lot more going on. So during this time, we still need advocates. We can still have advocates. They do virtual courts, they do virtual visits with the families and the kids. And most of them are doing virtual training to even get up to speed. So we definitely need advocates, and still just being really aware and just don't stop talking to these kids.
For sure. And if anyone's interested in becoming a CASA volunteer, you could talk to me or Whitney about it. So let us know. Whitney, thanks again for being here, for sharing your story and your child advocacy expertise.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.